Three. Hello, is this on?
I believe so. You're the one with all the buttons.
I do. I have a giant roadcaster next to me, and I press record, and it's showing levels, and I can see Anthony,
Hi.
and we are recording.
All right, perfect.
Welcome to Bull Chat on a Friday. I know I didn't give it to you guys this Wednesday, but I figured why not pick up the slack and give you guys some extra content.
Oh, so this is just like a bonus episode almost, or a late episode. How would you
Yeah,
consider this? What would you classify it as?
I'm gonna say it's a late episode because we usually do Bull Chats on Wednesdays. Also, if you're watching this, yes, I am wearing basically what is what did you call it? My shawl.
It's a shawl. It's like a
Yeah.
grandma shawl.
This is my grandma's shawl. My apartment is literally 61 degrees and I refuse to turn on the heat. So this is how I'm living. But
61.
yeah, oh no, I keep it cold. I don't like,
What?
yeah. And what's confusing is my electric bill is still 90 bucks. Like
Well,
I
I
do
mean,
not turn on the heat.
when you run a radio studio out of it, like you're doing right now, maybe that's the problem.
I mean, I'm not like Bitcoin mining or anything. It shouldn't be making my electric go up to 90. I get that bill and I'm like, confused. But anyway, yes, welcome to a Bull Chat on a Friday. Thank you so much for joining me, Anthony. I didn't even tell Scott I was doing it. I was just like, whatever. I don't
Ooh,
care.
is he gonna be mad?
No, because he refuses to do the at home thing. I've tried several times. So
What do
here
you What do you mean the at home thing?
so I am at work, as you know, quite
Mhm.
late. 3, 4, sometimes 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
I wake
and keep
up.
in mind, you start super early too.
Exactly. So my day is very filled. And at 10 a.m., when we used to record before I had a million and one jobs, it was fine, easy.
Mhm.
But now it is not so easy because I am doing 10 million jobs after 10. I've told Scott a million and one times, hey, we really got to figure something out. Let's record Bull Chats from home. We don't even need cereal. And he's like, dad life. So
Yeah, but don't his kids do things like that? It's not like he has to watch them all the time. It's not that they're not infants.
people do not want to hear this from me. So I'm just going to keep it chugging. But basically, I have my roadcaster here at home. I can be recording. So here I am delivering content to my fantastic audience.
Well, and I don't listen, I'm not here to throw you under the bus or anything, Andrew, but I just want to point out since this is the late episode, it's not late because of me.
No, not at all. Not
Okay.
at all. It is late because of me. But
Okay.
you know what? We're still providing it on a Friday. So
Yeah.
it's a fun little bonus episode. We love that.
This is kind of like an episode or a podcast that used to be on the Elvis Duran network called
Oh my God, My Day Friday.
My Day Friday. It's Andy's Day Friday.
It's Bull Chat semicolon My Day Friday.
My Bull Chat Friday. There we go.
Done. Easy. Great.
So what do we do here on the Bull Chat?
Basically it's just like a life episode. You just chat about life. Just do a little quick chit chat.
So is the whole morning show was on vacation this past week, yes?
Yes, I was not on vacation this week.
What were you actually working, or you chose not to travel,
Um, so
or both?
I wanted to go to Florida, but then I had a couple different podcast recordings, so I was like, I'll just stay home. And it was actually really nice. I caught up on a lot of sleep, a ton of sleep, which was
That's always good.
exactly what was needed.
Yeah, I haven't been obviously in the morning radio routine in a long time. We still do our morning show, but we don't start until 8 because it's an hour long, and it's not like we have breaks. So we do a full hour of content on Twitch, and then we have the morning show podcast. But that schedule, when you wake up at 4:30, 4:45, 5 o'clock, and you're at work and you're chugging along. Once
Yes.
6 o'clock rolls, I mean, that train is leaving the station and you are going 100 miles an hour. I think that's what people don't understand about the morning show life is when you show up, you can very rarely have an off day or a quiet day, right? Like
Yeah.
when my brother was working for it was like some online services telemarketing company. There were days that he could show up hungover, throw his headphones on, and no one bothered him for the whole day.
Mhm.
That doesn't work. Although we do throw headphones on, obviously. That does not work in morning radio because you are on.
Yes. It's like entering like a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
Like the minute you get there, it's just like constant action, talking, things are always happening. So it's like, yeah, a lot.
And
So
and that show specifically, it's like being strapped into a roller coaster, right? Everything's kind of calm until the mic opens at 6 o'clock. And you don't know where you're going. That thing is whipping you around, and there's a bunch of things you got to do. And then it comes to an end at what, 9:51,
mhm,
right? 9:50. What's the exact time?
9:51.
9:51.
Yeah.
And it's like the roller coaster stops, you kind of jerk forward a little bit, and you look around, you're like, I made it. I did we did it.
Yeah, and
Let's do this again tomorrow.
then there's like also so many like little side things that happen
Mm.
after the show now that I'm involved with. And so it's like the roller coaster just keeps on chugging
Well,
and I'm just whew.
are you allowed to talk about all the different podcasts that like you work on?
Yeah, I mean there's a whole bunch of them. I'm on oh, that is bright light. I'm going to turn that off cuz that is too
I
much.
I thought it looked pretty good.
Oh my God, it does it?
It gives you like some side lighting. It looks very dramatic. Everyone should be watching YouTube
Oh,
right now
sham. Okay. Fix
because
my
it's like
hair.
it's something I see on Reels all the time because I follow a bunch of video editors and stuff. Like
Mhm.
this is how you do dramatic lighting. You put one light to your left, and that's it. Like you made that sound much more involved than it really was.
I will actually say this looks good.
I think it looks good. It looks very dramatic.
Oh, damn, thank you. Oh wow. Yeah, so I work on like a bunch of different shows, like at least 9 of them at last notice, so or last check-in. So that is a lot. And so
That's a
like I
lot
said,
of podcast.
come 10 a.m. when Scott's like standing by my desk and it's like, I'm like, can you just be available at 2 p.m. from your house? Because that could work for me. I'll be home
Are
at
his kids still in school at 2 p.m.? And
I,
listen, I don't have to worry about kids or picking them up or dropping them off or
same,
worrying about
same.
their after school exercise activities.
And
I
he's a
get it.
great dad, so I
He is.
can't knock him. He's a fantastic dad. But
But I'm
yeah,
just asking, aren't they in school at that time?
dad life, bro.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, just a lot going on. But hey, we're here. We're providing a nice show. My question is, how has your sleep schedule been? Like, do you feel like would you ever go back to morning radio hours? Because
Yeah, I absolutely would. I actually
people,
would.
I've seen several Instagrams where people are like, "Here's my wake up routine. You want to wake up at 4:30?" I'm like, as someone who doesn't get to choose, just has to. No, you should not wake up at 4:30 and read like a meditation packet
Yeah,
and give yourself an hour of breathing work. Like, no, stay asleep, get all the sleep you can.
I think most of those people that do that, right? The people who are filming themselves in the morning and telling everyone else how to live, I think they're absolutely full of garbage.
Yeah,
Secondly, they're not usually doing public facing jobs as early as morning radio is. I think that's the biggest difference, right? When you
true.
can ease into your day, yeah, wake up at whatever time you want. If you want to waste 3 hours or do things for 3 hours, that's great before work. But to do that in your job, you'd have to be up at 3.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. No, but my schedule, my sleep schedule, and my morning schedule has never ever been consistent. It's just not the way that I live. Like, yeah, when I was working morning radio, I was at the studio by 5:15 every morning, but it's not like I was going to bed early. There were days I'd go to bed at 12. There were days I wouldn't go to bed. I'd literally
Mhm.
just work through the night and then stay there.
Ooh, I've never
Uh,
pulled an all-nighter. That is one thing
oh
I
man, I've
will
done
not do.
so many.
No, for me, it's like I don't care if I even get 30 minutes of sleep. Like to me, I can run on 30 minutes, but like you
Mhm.
got to give me that time. I will not ever push through without getting at least 15, 30 minutes because
See,
that is enough for my brain to just be like, "Phew, good."
I would actually prefer to not get the 30. I feel like the 30 messes me up.
Ooh, no, no.
Really, it got to a point, especially when I was doing morning radio, um, that if I was working late enough, like let's say I was working till 2:30 or 3, if
Mhm.
I knew I was going to get less than 2 hours of sleep, I just wouldn't sleep.
No.
And but it's the way that it's the way that I've always been able to work. I'm a procrastinator, so I can leave a lot of things till the last moment
Same.
and knock it all out. Not a healthy way to live. But when I am working on a project, I do have the ability to kind of put blinders on and just do that thing for hours and hours and hours and hours.
Mhm.
Then it doesn't bother me. I could work for 24 straight hours, but then I will completely unplug and I won't do anything for another 12 hours.
Hmm.
And it's just whatever kind of is in front of me, I'll tackle whatever's there and then I'll figure everything else out.
Yeah, I feel like I enter that like I could be in hyper productive modes. And
Mm.
that's the other problem too. Instagram Reels is like you may have ADHD and I'm like I don't think I do, but like Thanks for offering that advice.
I feel like we all have characteristics that might fall into those categories, but we're also a hyper fixated population because we do have things like TikTok and Reels, and we can fall down every rabbit hole we need to because we have literally every piece of information in our hands.
Yeah, it's so true. I was just having this conversation with my mom actually, and they were just talking about like the difference in the workforce and also how much like things have changed, but like pay has pretty much stayed stable. And I'm like, great, because in the 80s and 90s, you weren't walking around with literally
Mhm.
your work on you at all times. Like
Yeah.
you literally are now expected to work if somebody texts or calls you. And yes, you could set your boundaries and you could pretend like your laptop is shut at 5, but the minute you get any email that's like urgent, you be the one to tell me that you're not going to answer the call.
I feel like the people that say that, um, there's two categories. I think they're just driven differently than I am,
Mm-hmm.
right? But B, I think it's usually some sort of person who has enough financial resources where they don't care.
Yeah.
It's like, oh well, I just shut off or blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, well, you can do that. It's like, but I can't.
It's so
I
true.
need to be available for everyone that needs me because hey, I'm not trying to get fired. I'm trying to make sure my clients are happy, whatever it
Right?
is. And it's tough. But I am a little envious of that the last generation that was able to like go to work and then go home.
Yeah.
And then that was it.
It's crazy that we never knew life like that.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? I was talking to someone last summer, and it was a friend who works in like the um music label space, but also works with a lot of radio friends that we know. And she was saying that she knows a guy, I think in either Spokane or Idaho, Spokane, Washington, or somewhere in Idaho, because Spokane's like right on the border.
Mhm.
And he used to be a radio guy, and he was making whatever crappy pay the smaller markets were paying. And he was a wedding DJ, and he loved
Mm.
being a wedding DJ. So he said, you know what? I'm going to continue doing this wedding DJ stuff because it actually pays pretty well. I
Mhm.
mean, granted, it's not a lot of work because you're generally working 2 or 3 days a week, and I don't know if that's enough to sustain you. But he then got a job at, I believe it was Costco,
Mm.
just stocking shelves and do a lot of like back end work, not even really working with customers. And he's like, it's so great because I leave work now, and it's not like Costco is calling me to check on inventory stuff. I do my work. I unload boxes, I stack shelves when I need to, I put things back on trucks or take them off, and then I go home
You
and
know,
they pay my medical bills. It's a
really?
consistent paycheck. Yeah, it's like a full-time job with
Wow.
benefits.
Damn.
Yeah.
You know,
And it's
stuff,
not bad. Like
stuff.
Washington State, I think throughout the state it's $15 an hour minimum wage. I know the city is for
Hmm.
Seattle, but they're paying them enough to live.
I know Scott has always said that when the radio thing is done for him, he wants to work and stock shelves in a supermarket. And all my time I've been like, would that just get monotonous after a while? But now that you're saying it, where it could just, it's consistent, you really can just shut your whole brain off
Yeah.
like after work. That sounds magical.
You know how many people I see, whether it's like some sort of, stocking, cleaning, whatever job, just have headphones on?
Yeah.
It's like you're listening to whatever you feel like listening to. Maybe you're listening to a podcast and you feel like you're hanging out with your friends all day, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you're listening to an audiobook and you're just doing a task. It's
Yeah.
it's easily identifiable. Your boss tells you I need this task done. You do it and you go home.
And I'm sure there's stressors to it too, where it's
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
of
like, oh,
course.
this person's on my ass about making sure it looks super tidy or inventory isn't counted the right way. But there is something to it where, you don't have an email address where somebody is like going to contact you at like 9 o'clock at
Yeah.
night and be like, hey, need this now.
And there are positives and negatives to every job, like you said. But I will say, if Scott wants to one day be out of radio and stock shelves at a grocery store, it will be the neatest, best stocked grocery store in the world.
It will be the best grocery store in the entire country. Like they will get
Yeah.
awards, medals, even. Yes.
Perfectly stocked shelves. I do that now because I worked at a deli. It was my first job that wasn't with my family.
Mhm.
And there was a deli next door to where I grew up. So I worked there when I was like 16. and maybe even before that. I think it was 14 or 15. Um, and one of my jobs was like sweeping the floors, mopping the floors, and stocking shelves. It's basically what I did. Took out garbage, and I will still stock the fridge at home like I used to stock shelves at the deli. Where if Carla Marie, for example, buys a big case of Spindrift or something,
Mhm.
they're all set up by the flavor. The labels are all out. They're perfectly aligned. I'll do that with everything.
Wow. So you're really organized. That's like your thing.
Yeah, it just helps. I think when things are less cluttered, I can think more clearly. I feel
Mm,
like
mm.
physical clutter actually clutters my brain. I don't know if that's like a me thing or if that's a common trait.
Yeah, no, I
But
feel
yeah,
that way.
when things are cluttered, I can't focus.
Yeah, like right now I just have stuff on my counter and I've recently been going through a phase where I'm like, how much can I get rid of and like how
Oh
quickly?
yeah,
Because like even now I'm like, my desk is so cluttered. I just have so much around me that I'm like, I need all of it gone. Like I just want nothing showing.
it's crazy how when you really break it down, doesn't matter if you're rich, poor. It's crazy how much stuff
Mm-hmm.
we have. And that's something Carla Marie and I, especially because Carla Marie moved into her home, bought her home and moved into her home
Mm-hmm.
before I moved in. So she had a fully set up home. And then I guess at this point, it's 2 years ago, I moved in with her and I had all of my stuff. And granted, I got rid of a lot. Like
Yeah.
I gave stuff away to friends. I sold stuff on OfferUp, donated some. Um, but combining both of our stuff, we're still trying to get through all of it because there's just so much crap. And one of the benefits of this job, whether it's morning radio or what we do on the in the podcasting live streaming place space, um, is you get free stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
A lot of free stuff.
even if you're not going out and buying it, you're getting a lot of free stuff, and a lot of it's like
Mm-hmm.
not super valuable. But at the same time, you're just getting it all the time.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're just living in a mountain of crap.
I feel that to my core. And it doesn't help that now I have all this koozie stuff. Like I have a bag full of koozies. I have a photo box because I need to take pictures of every koozie now.
Oh
And it's
wow.
like,
Oh,
it's
you're
just,
really like doing it.
oh yeah,
Your
no,
photo
we,
box is legit.
oh yeah, it's really, really legit. It has like a little light on the top. I need all these like professional pictures taken. You know, I'm hustling. So I'm just like really trying to get that up and running. But in the meantime, it's like the clutter is making me crazy.
Yeah. You need to get a good like storage area or something. Do you how many koozies are we allowed to use that word?
Yeah.
But you're not allowed to call it that, right?
Yeah. That's
So
the
what
difference.
what do you call it?
Okay, so we'll be back right after this. Do
Oh,
do 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 do. And we're back. Great. That's like my official commercial music. Okay, so
what
yeah,
a teaser. That what a tease there. I really hope
so
people stayed through the commercials.
so our company is still called Koozie Kings, but our new label to actually sell them is called like what we're trademarked as is Brew
Mhm.
Pants.
Brew, that's right. And
So
it's
we're
because
now
there's a company that owns
the
the
word
word
koozie,
koozie.
Koozie, is technically how you are supposed to refer to it, call it. That is like a licensed and trademarked name, which is insane to me.
But what if you just spelled it with a C
That's what we were doing.
and still not good enough?
Nope.
Hmm.
It's too close to the original.
Okay.
So trademark law is weird. And they're like, you're selling a similar product. Again, I don't think that they were probably thinking that people would sell koozies as much as they are. So they were like, "Oh yeah, just give them the word. It's fine." It's like how Kylie Jenner like tried to trademark the name Kylie.
Yeah.
It's like,
So you can't trademark a very common name. So how many brew pants before the name change and since the name change do you think you've sold? Do you have an
oh
exact number?
yeah, we literally thousands, like if not tens of thousands.
Really?
Yeah, we did just last year alone, and I'll just say I don't care. We did 150,000 in inventory, like in like money.
That's amazing. And
Yeah,
obviously you're not there's
no,
stuff you have to pay for. So it's not like you it's
90% of
not
that goes back into the business. And that's
yeah.
the other thing that all these TikTok influencers and Instagram reels, anytime you see these people being like, I got into drop shipping and I'm making tens of thousands of dollars. I've had friends send it to me and be like, oh my God, is this legit? It is. Trust me, on paper, yes.
Mhm.
We made 150,000 in profits last year. But do you know all that money has to go back into getting more inventory? Like there is so ads to put at the
Upkeep,
top of.
shipping, storage.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And Amazon does so much of it, but like, no, you are not pocketing
Yeah.
$150,000. You're just not. So don't go into a game like that thinking like you're gonna be walking away with it. Like I've made very little return on it, but it's more the investment that like it's up and running now to where it's like an actual product that we sell and it's making money.
And yeah, obviously there's the long game, right? Like
Yeah,
you weren't you you didn't start it thinking, oh, I'm gonna make $1 million this year and retire or something. Which
exactly.
a lot of those accounts on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, like this is how you can retire and just have passive income for the rest of your life. It's like that's not how that works,
It ain't
man.
happening. It ain't happening. You really got to like work. And again, it's getting to a spot where once we now have enough inventory, we have a place to store them. Like now we can actually keep more of the money moving forward. But
Yeah, of course.
you need to like really, there is no easy way to do it. Alibaba, yes, sells a lot of products that are super popular and you can do the drop shipping thing, but you got to work a lot
Mhm.
to make it actually
And
be
even with something like drop shipping, even if it's something where you don't need to hold on to the inventory or whatever, you've got to let people know about it.
so true. And
You
that's
know?
one thing now is with like TikTok and Instagram and trying to get into that whole advertising space. There's like several jobs that you need to do on top of like, again, the full-time job I'm already
Yep.
doing.
That's the crazy thing about doing what we're doing here is kind of like independent creators with, the Carla Marie Anthony show on Twitch and YouTube now, um, the morning show podcast. It's like, yeah, we create this content every day, but then there's also all the other stuff we have to do, right? We have meetings
Yeah.
with clients and we signed with a company that sells our podcast, similar to what, the Elvis podcast
Hmm. Hmm.
network does. And, there's meetings with them and making sure they have what they need and they have,
Hmm.
doing all the promos and just there's so much. I mean, the amount of time I spend doing engineering stuff
Hmm.
that like engineer Jeff would do for you guys, the amount of time I do that is crazy.
I can
And
imagine.
but I think the interesting thing is anyone who starts their own business at any point, there's a laundry list of things you can complain about,
Hmm.
but it's also very fulfilling and it's
For
also
sure.
fun. Like learning all the new things you have to want to learn, really.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also just like taking a leap of faith and believing in yourself to a point,
Mhm.
just to say, like, if it fails, it's on me. But if it
Yeah.
succeeds, it's also on me. So, like, it's been a really cool, to your point, like learning experience just to say, like, oh my God, I took something as stupid as a koozie with two of my friends
Yeah.
and sold as much as we have. And like I said, if it flops, it's whatever. The learning experience behind it has just been the best part.
What do you think from like a technical standpoint is one of the coolest things you've learned how to do now?
Again, I think it's just like putting it in order and just figuring out the whole back end process to it. Like you look at, I'm sure your friends who like also in the Roosevelts could say the same thing. It's like you have an idea and you
Mhm.
think to yourself, it's going to be a mountain to climb. I will never be able to get it done. There's too many steps involved. But then you just need to find the right supplier. You really just need to like ideate what your idea is and figure out like, okay, like this is what it is. And then just
Yeah.
you can put the pieces together fairly simply. Like there's a lot of, I think, doubt that comes into, and I'm sure you've experienced this the same thing. There's a lot of doubt that can creep in and be like, should I be doing this? Should I
Mhm.
start from scratch? Can I do it easier? But once you kind of start get up and running, you just say to yourself, like, there is no point in doubting yourself. Like, just keep going until you're told to stop.
Yeah.
That's my biggest thing.
Yeah. And I mean, to your point, like I've gotten to see basically the Roosevelts take their company from just an idea in our apartment
Yeah,
before they even had a website and grow it to a level where I think they have 30 something employees now.
it's
They have
insane.
deals with Marvel and Disney and
Yeah,
I mean every single company. And yeah, along the way, I'm sure there were doubts. There were times where they weren't making money originally, but
yeah.
they knew that they had to keep kind of feeding the beast until it got going. And
It
I mean,
takes a while.
their original office was my apartment.
That's crazy.
There was actually so my apartment, and for those that don't know, Andrew and I lived. You never lived in the apartment with me, right? On Manila Street.
Mm-mm. I took your old room when you moved out.
Yes. So in that apartment, the very end room where Josh used to live,
Hmm.
that used to be Steve from the Roosevelts' room.
Hmm.
Steve had a girlfriend at the time who lived in our apartment literally next door.
Hmm.
So when they launched the Roosevelts, there was a time where Steve cleared out his own bedroom, turned it into an office, and essentially he wasn't homeless, obviously, because he had a place for all his stuff and he
Yeah.
slept in our apartment. But he did not have a bedroom. He turned it into an office, and that's where they started everything out of.
Wow.
Like, and that's
That's
what
wild.
that's yeah, that's the commitment you have to kind of have if you're, especially if you're going to make it your full-time job. Like he
Yeah.
left his full-time job with Coed Magazine. Um, John left his full-time job, and I think part-time was working for his dad's demolition company just to
Hmm.
make sure he had enough money. And they both took a chance on themselves and their ideas and said, "Screw it, let's go."
Yeah. That's wild. It's like really inspiring to hear too, because it's like, again, I have friends who have wanted to start things
Yeah.
and they put so much doubt in themselves to be like, well, it's impossible to start, so I'm not even going to try. And I feel like I was that way for a very long time. Like even
Mm.
with podcasting with Scott, I'm like, no, nobody wants to hear what I'm saying anyway. But really, once you like have that little spark of just being like, maybe I can do more than what I think I can. That's when you're really like, oh, there's so much in front of you. Why not take
Mm.
advantage of it? Like, don't just sit on the sidelines of your own life.
Well, the way I see it too is all the stuff that you're learning now, even if, I mean, listen, if you can sell enough brew pans to retire and make millions,
Yeah.
I would like to see nothing more than
Yeah.
that. But even if that doesn't happen, and maybe you realize down the road, hey, you know what? We're making some money, but it's probably not worth the effort or the
Hmm.
storage or
Hmm.
whatever. All the things you've learned to put this together will
Yeah.
make whatever you do even better next time. You are, as a worker, as a creative, as what a partner, are going to be so much more valuable in whatever that next step is, because you're going to understand this whole new thing. And that's the way Carla Marie and I have looked at what we've done
Yeah.
with, independent broadcasting, if you will, independent content creation is, um, we would, if the right opportunity became available, we would jump back into morning radio in a second, because I legitimately loved when that studio door was closed and we had
Mhm.
our space and our, the airwaves, if you will, and our callers. That there was nothing greater for me. Now, when that studio door opened and you had to do, all of the other stuff, there were some issues. Um, but all the stuff that we're doing now, learning how to, live stream on different platforms and learning how to use different tools,
Yeah.
cameras, lighting, um, figuring out this podcast that we've built, and which we just celebrated the 2-year anniversary of the morning show podcast, and
Congratulations.
and growing that. Thank you. And growing that, all of those things. If we were to get back into traditional media,
Mhm.
I mean, we have so many tools now that we didn't have or didn't fully understand when we were doing it 4 years ago.
For sure. Yeah, it's exactly that. It's like you have such a vast knowledge of kind of like what the current media landscape is
Mhm.
that if you were to jump into like a radio job full time, it's almost like that's a non-negotiable for you.
Oh yeah,
When it's
we've sorry, continue.
no, you go.
I was gonna say we have had conversations with radio companies and stuff, and that's always um the thing that we protect the most. And with some radio executives, it might scare them, or they don't. I don't even want to say it scares them. They don't understand it, so it's not a path they're going to go down, which is absolutely their right.
Hmm.
And some radio executives just say, yeah, absolutely, you built that thing.
Hmm.
Um, why would we stop you from continuing it? That's something that's going to help us down the road, because now you have this national audience
Hmm.
that you can bring wherever you happen to go. And the right deal hasn't necessarily like popped up yet, but even with the podcast company that we work with at the moment, one of the reasons we signed with them was because we still own all of our own stuff.
Hmm.
And that was super important to us. And if you ever build something, you know how important it is for you to own that thing that you build, unless someone comes and signs you a fat check and says, here you go. Because trust me, if there are enough zeros, I would sell the shit out of this. Oh, sorry.
No, you can curse on it. Don't worry.
Okay.
That's yeah, yeah. It's interesting to kind of see how much you're capable of when you're forced to kind of like go outside of your comfort zone to a degree.
Yeah.
But it's
And
all
I think
super encouraging.
and I think people also need to give themselves time to be creative. Like sometimes
Mhm.
if I'm in a rut and I feel like I've just been like being a little task rabbit, right? Like just checking things off the list,
Yeah.
I'll just go for a drive because legally and responsibly, you're not supposed to do a lot of other things when you drive. So when I drive, I can let my mind wander a little bit, as opposed to being in the house or being in the office where there's always like something to do.
Mhm.
And I'm the type of person that needs to let my mind wander to think of new ideas and be
Mm.
creative. And when anytime someone tells me they're in a rut, I'm like, just go for a drive, try it out.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't work. Maybe you're still in a rut. Maybe you're in a worse rut when you get back. I can't promise you anything. But maybe it's you just needed to break up the monotony of scheduling and accomplishing tasks.
Yeah. That's my biggest problem is like I can fall into patterns where I'm just like, I want to do nothing. Like my brain needs to just be off, but then I keep it in the off but like switch for too long. And then I'm like, oh, I have to encourage myself to do things again. And I hate it.
But my barber explained this term that I wasn't aware of before, but we were talking about a video game. Do you ever this was the wildest trend in video games. It was a year and a half ago. Um, have you ever played the Power Washer game?
Okay. Yes, I have
You
House
have? Okay.
Flipper. It's
Say that.
literally the exact same thing. It's called House Flipper.
Oh, I've not played House Flipper. Explain
It's
that one.
okay. So House Flipper is literally like you walk into the house, you have to pick up the garbage, you need to paint the walls, you need any all you're doing is literally just like paint the wall. You just click. You walk over, you pick up the trash, you just click it. It's like it's almost like doing just monotonous
Mm,
tasks and you could spend 30, 40 minutes just like focusing on cleaning the house, putting things where they need to be. It's just there is no real challenge to it. There is
yeah.
really no objective. It's just like focusing on getting the tasks done.
And for people who don't know power washer, it's kind of similar. You're literally a power washer, like the big hose that cleans things, and you can pick whatever thing. Like I picked a playground,
Hmm.
and you just take your mouse and you clean like you use the power hose or the power washer and you clean like the jungle gym, and then you
Hmm.
clean the bench, and then you clean and it's a little more nuanced because you could pick like different nozzles and hoses and then stuff like that. But the reason I bring that up is my barber was telling me about the game, and I was like, man, this sounds real dumb. And he's like, no, it
Hmm.
is. That's the whole point. It's really dumb, but you have to try it. And he goes, it allows your lizard brain to work
Yeah.
where you can just kind of sit there. You're doing an activity, but it's not hard.
Yeah.
And you kind of like zone out and you do that thing. And I think everyone needs to do that at some point in your day. You need to let your brain kind of go into lizard mode
I love
and
that.
just like reset a little bit.
I love lizard mode. I'm going to start
Yeah.
using that. I sometimes my friends and I we call it bunny time.
What is bunny time?
So bunnies, like when there's just a petting zoos at schools, my friend's a principal. So he's like a crazy principal. He gets like petting zoos, circuses, like you name it. He's like
That's
all about
awesome.
the kids. Yeah, he's a great principal. Um,
Can
but
he come
he,
here?
yeah, I would love that. So but the problem is the bunnies can't. They can do 20 minutes at a time. You cannot leave the bunnies with constant stimulation for longer than 20 minutes. So you have to
Interesting.
take them and they have to kind of just be like zoned out for a couple minutes before they're reintegrated. So it's bunny time.
I love that. They just
Yeah.
need to be by themselves,
Yes.
recharge their batteries a little bit,
Yeah.
and then they're back out into the world.
Exactly. Just a little bit of recharging, a little bit of bunny time.
Do we know how much time it takes to recharge a bunny?
I do not actually. I could ask him, but
I would love to find that out.
yeah. I'll ask. I'll get back to you on that one.
All right.
I also have this new thing. It's called I got it like yesterday. It's called a Books Palma.
Oh,
Also, what the
what?
hell is that thing? That why is that bubble there? Anyway,
I
it's a
don't,
Books
are we
Palma.
live streaming this? Where did that thumbs down button come from?
I think Zoom added that in where if you put things up for like long periods of time now, yeah, they do that.
Whoa.
Yeah,
So what if I put my hand up for a while? Does that
I don't know.
just a thumbs down? That's the only thing Zoom has integrated?
I know that they do the same thing on FaceTime calls, but
That's
Yeah.
weird.
So it's a Boox Palma. It's smaller than a Kindle.
Oh,
My
okay.
biggest thing is I want to read more, but I hate the size of the Kindle. And I
Okay.
also don't want to carry a giant book around. You know what I'm
And
saying?
obviously it's like the paper white screen,
Same
right? So
thing.
it's not like your actual phone screen.
Yeah. It's like
Oh man, that's cool. How much is
what
that thing?
270?
Okay, worth it because a Kindle's like 100.
But what's wild is you could also put apps on it. So like I can
Ooh,
play my music, it can run full video, and it's wild because it's literally like a paperwhite like Kindle screen.
interesting. I kind of
It,
love that thing.
I do too, and it has a camera, which is wild too because it's like, why would I ever want a Kindle white photo of myself?
So if
But
you take pictures on that camera and you transfer it somewhere else,
yeah, it comes out like
like
e-ink.
it's on that screen.
Yeah,
Okay. I
it's
thought maybe they
wild.
had some weird way where they like make it a real picture later on.
As far as I know, I haven't tried transferring it. I could try and see what happens, but yeah.
I'm
But
going
I'd
to
love
give you a theory.
to
Speaking of pictures,
go
because
for
I
it.
do love that thing, and I might have to look into one for myself. No, stop it.
Fantastic.
You don't need more things.
And
Um,
it's about your phone size. That's the best part because now I can literally just travel with these two things. And
mhm,
it's like now when I want to just read on the train, I can literally go distraction free
I
and
love that.
say, great. Let me just read my book and I don't have to worry or care about anything.
No notifications or anything like that. That's great.
None.
I do want to bring up because you mentioned pictures.
Yeah.
I feel like you would appreciate this theory or this new discussion that is now out there in the social media world.
Hmm.
What is a picture? Now, hear me out. The reason people are having this discussion now is because whether you have an iPhone, a Google phone, like a Pixel, a Samsung, there's so much artificial intelligence and filtering that's done, even if you don't ask it to, with your photo. Like when you use an iPhone,
Hmm.
it's snapping that photo, right? It's processing all of that information and then it's running it through filters, algorithms,
Mm, mm.
processing to make it the best picture possible.
Okay.
So now people are starting to think, well, what is a real picture? How do we like what constitutes a picture now? Because with a Pixel phone, the one I have, I mean, I can remove things from the background. I
Hmm.
can move people
That's
from where they are in the picture,
yeah.
and it's cleaning up the photo as it's taking it. So that's not actually the thing that I see. Even if I just press the shutter button and take that, that is not the actual image that I pointed my camera at.
Huh. I've never thought of that. That's like
So
really interesting.
do we have pictures anymore? What do we call these things that we now have?
Hmm. You know, I've recently gone back to my digital camera.
Ooh, that's cool.
I'm like trying to go back to it. I have this like old school retro one that's like old school digital where it doesn't even have a screen.
Ooh,
Yeah, and you could plug it into your phone and you could copy everything over, but like you can just take a million pictures,
yeah,
but you don't know what you're actually taking until you plug in your phone
that's cool.
or plug in the camera. But then I also have a really good Leica one. But I agree with you. That's interesting because it's like, yeah, the image is so processed by the time you're actually seeing it.
Exactly.
Everything's in portrait mode now. So that means they like lighten up your face, the background, they blur whatever. It's
Yeah.
like it's not the real thing.
I mean, I saw an ad for one of the Pixel phones. I think it's the newest one, where someone was like tossing their baby in the air, like on the beach,
Mhm.
and they moved the baby higher
That's crazy.
in the picture. It's like, well, that's not the original picture, but you can pass it off as the picture because all of the data that was processed and uploaded, it makes it look like that was the original photo. So, and I
Wow.
guess that what it was like a podcast from CNET or one of like the nerdy platforms that I follow. And they said the only thing that really constitutes as a picture now is if you take a video and pull a frame from that video
Wow.
or something along those lines.
Huh.
But I don't know what we're gonna like. What's the next generation coming up? Alpha.
Yeah.
What are they going to even think pictures are?
Yeah, that's wild because by the time you're seeing it, it's so wildly edited and processed and changed up. It's like that's not the original photo. It's not like film.
Yeah. And I'm not
Mm.
high for the record when I'm telling you guys this. I know this sounds like a very high conversation, but where I am right now, it's 8:45 in the morning and I don't even smoke. So
Wow. Huh. That's
Just
that's a
chew
that's a
on
good
that for the
one.
weekend.
I will. That's a good thought. Thank you for that, Anthony.
What
Thank you.
is a photo? What qualifies or constitutes as a photo these days?
I love that. I never actually thought of that. That's
Yeah.
very interesting. Huh.
Because even if you don't do anything, your phone is still doing it on, like, even if you don't ask your phone to
Hmm.
process it,
It's
just
the grid.
naturally based on the technology in your phone, it's
Yeah.
going to do something different.
And that's wild too now with like all this Apple Vision Pro stuff because that has 1,000,001 cameras, but how
Yep.
you're viewing it through the lens is also wildly different too.
Yep.
Hmm.
I haven't played with the Vision Pro yet. Have you ever had one of the VR headsets?
Yeah, I had a PlayStation VR. It was so
Ooh,
fun. I
that was
love the
like that's the
PlayStation VR.
OG.
Yeah, I still have that one. I don't The novelty of VR kind of wears off for me
Mhm.
because it's like you just get nauseated by the cameras. The Vision Pro interests me because I'm like, I can do like augmented reality. Like, I love that. Like the thought of like being able to wear goggles right now and it's like, okay, I could see you in front of me, but I could look at my
Mhm.
texts over here and I'm still in my room. Like, I like that better than VR, where it's like I have to be in a whole new place.
Until they until they get to something that's a little more similar to like a pair of glasses,
Google Glass. Yeah.
something like that. And even that one like looked weird.
Yeah.
I want it to just look like a pair of readers, if you
Or a
will.
contact lens
Contact.
where you can't even see it.
That's like some spy stuff,
That is some spy stuff.
right?
That's
Where
when you
like,
know it's a dystopian future.
yeah, which we're, I mean, we're this close, but it's like a dystopian. I wouldn't call it a future. It's like dystopian 2 weeks is
Yeah,
basically where we're at this point.
pretty much.
Um, and yes, for those people at home, I know that 2 weeks is also in the future, for the record.
Well, there is that whole doomsday clock, and that's ticking away. So it's
But
fine.
I would love like right. I would. I'm trying to think of like a real world application. The easiest thing is if you go to a new country and it just translates everything in front of you. So like when
True.
you're reading a street sign, like when we were in Taiwan, yeah, there were some street signs or some signs that were in English, but generally most of them were not.
Yeah.
It would have been great to just look around as a tourist, like, oh
Yeah.
my god, I can read everything here.
Hmm.
But I think like this is the nerdiest thing ever. When we're on Twitch, one of the things we have to do is always check the live streaming chat as it goes through. It'd be awesome to have a pair of glasses where I could see maybe on one eye the chat screen. And now it's just always in front of me. And I
Mm.
can like look around. I can talk to Carla Marie. I can pull stuff up on the screen and I can still know what the audience is saying the whole time.
Well, that's what's wild. Is that what the is like basically what the Vision Pro could do?
Yeah,
But
but that still looks ridiculous.
exactly. Then you're going to be live streaming with a giant thing of goggles on. People are going to be like,
Yeah.
"Is Anthony good?" Those fake
That,
AI eyes that they give you on the glasses are also not working for me.
yeah, that's no one should ever walk around with that. I do have the Oculus, the first version of the Oculus that came out, and there are some fun games. Like there's a game, and I haven't played it in probably a year, but it's called Elven Assassin,
Mm.
and you're an elf, and you've got a little bow and arrow, and you're on a tower, and you just got to kill like these ogres as they come through, and they come through in waves, and that's it. You just keep
I love
going
it.
until more and more come through, and I could spend hours playing that game.
It's a more violent version of your power cleaning game, but it also is giving you your bunny time.
And but it's also physical because you're getting up. I will. This is going to sound so lame. I will be sweating at the end of that game
Mm. Well, they
just
do have,
by putting your arms in this motion and kind of like drawing the fake string back because you have to do all of that
yeah,
and letting it go.
they have VR workout classes. Like that is a thing,
Have
which
you
is
ever
why.
done Beat Saber?
No, I've always wanted to. That always looks so fun.
Oh my god! And for people who don't know what I'm talking about, Beat Saber. If you remember the game Fruit Ninja,
Hmm.
where you had to slice the fruit on your mobile phone screen, it's kind of if you took Fruit Ninja and Guitar Hero and put them together. That's what Beat Saber is. And
Yeah.
you're like playing along with the music and you're slicing these boxes that come through. You can add packs. Like I have the BTS pack. So good. I have the Lady Gaga, not Lady Gaga, Lincoln Park.
Ooh, okay.
I got the Lincoln Bleed It Out. Really fun to do. Also very hard.
Mm. And you're probably sweating so much by the end of it.
Oh my God. I sweat doing everything. So maybe I'm not the best example. I always tell people there's like one thing I'm really good at, and that's sweating. I'm the best. The absolute best.
Well, wow. I would love to. I would say I'd love to come over and play it, but I'm worried that your headset's going to be drenched. So,
We'll wipe it down. It's fine.
okay, I'll bring some baby wipes over. Well, I think that just concludes this. This has been 45 minutes. I can't believe how fast the time went.
Is that like too much, too little? What did I do?
No, you did a great job. Usually Sky and I
Sweet.
have been doing 20, 30 minutes. So you added an
Yeah,
additional 15.
but that's because Scott's lazy.
Yeah, true, 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 true.
You
He's
can
going to
tell
listen
him
to this and he's going to text both of us and be like, you dicks. Well, thank you so much, Anthony, for joining me.
Thank you. This is awesome.
This was great. And I hope that you guys all have a wonderful weekend. Again, this is just a nice little bonus bowl chat, my day, bowl chat day,
My bowl Friday.
my bowl Friday. Okay, that's going to be the caption. But thank you all so much for joining. We'll see you on Monday. It's going to be a little bit later because we didn't get to record Serial Killers before we left for break. So, but keep listening because it's coming. So, all right. See you guys on Monday for Serial Killers. Until then, bye.
Later.
See ya.
Cool.
Thank you.
That was fun.
That was fun. Thank you, Anthony.